Hey everybody, welcome to Do You Believe on ParanormalZoneTV. I want to thank everybody so much for being here with us tonight. I hope you enjoy the show. For those of you who are watching for the first time, if you would please give my show a like, I'd really appreciate it. And if you also would subscribe if you haven't already done so. And I hope you all got your emails from me because I sent them out last night for show reminders. Well, tonight, my guest is Kelly Lapseritis. I'm so excited to have her on the show. Kelly is a clairvoyant and a contactee for souls of all worlds, dimensions, and levels of consciousness. Kelly has been a lifelong experiencer of the paranormal, including extraterrestrials, Sasquatch people, angels, and ascended masters, and other spirits behind the veil. Tonight, Kelly will be talking with us of her personal experiences with Sasquatch and other interdimensional beings. So with that, everyone, let's welcome Kelly to the show. Kelly, thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Yes, thank you for having me on your show, Norene. I really look forward to it.
Oh, thanks. It's such a pleasure. You know, I had your husband, as you know, and it was such a pleasure to have Kiwani on the show. He was absolutely awesome.
Yes, I really enjoyed that one too. I was tuning in while he was doing that one.
It was an excellent show. So
yes.
Now, Kelly, can you explain to the viewers what a clairvoyant and you say you're a clairvoyant and a contactee for souls of all the worlds and dimensions and levels of consciousness? Can you explain that to the viewers, please?
Yes. Well, when I say clairvoyant, it's basically kind of another word for psychic, and I don't care too much for either word really, but it's more of a description for other people to understand. But I have experiences where I see things that are things that I'm able to help people with, no matter what it is. Some people are living, and some have already passed on. And spirits come to me, so that I can help them in different ways, either with a person that they have a connection to, or something that they need to do, or to help them cross over. Or I also, am able to help people here in the now with some of the visions that I have, or with some of the messages that I receive from different beings, which include the star people and the Sasquatch people mainly.
Can you explain that to us? How do you get messages from star people and Sasquatch?
It's through my consciousness. Really, I mean, they're able to physically manipulate things here in the world so that they can, move things around, or even visit you where it would look like a bird or a little bug coming to visit you. But if you're able to tune in to this other dimension and into this other frequency where they are and they're delivering their messages, then you're able to receive that. The Sasquatch people, that most of the time when they want to give me a message and get my attention, my right ear starts ringing, and so I'm able to, focus, and I visualize at the same time because I know who's trying to get a hold of me, and then it comes into picture who it is and the message that they want to give. And I usually write them down as long as I'm able to. I write down the messages that I get for whoever it's for. And, most of the time it's just for me, or it's a piece of information or wisdom, or, some kind of thought that they're able to send so that I'm able to move forward with going on the right path in my life.
So who are these star people?
Well, there's several different races, and I don't really even know all of the names of them or anything, but they're different ones that come at different times. Some of them are to give healing, and some of them are just to impart some kind of wisdom that I'm able to share with, writing this book that I'm writing, or to help others that I'm helping either through counseling or, healing with crystals, or giving some advice on, what I know about herbs and things of that sort.
Well, are these star people aliens?
Oh, yes. They
Oh,
are. I mean, that's how I'm sorry. Yes, that's how, what most people will call them. And yes, they're aliens. They're people from, other galaxies and star systems. But they're able to sometimes manifest themselves here as humans. But for the most part, they're working through us, through our consciousness.
have you ever seen a star person?
I have, as far as a human-looking one before, and they told me that they were.
So they approached you and told you that they were a star person, and they proceeded to communicate with you?
Yes, this has happened twice. One time was when I was a child, and it was an old man, probably, I don't know, he looked around 80 years old or so. He was pretty frail, and but he approached me and started to talk to me about my powers that I had, and I didn't know what he was talking about. It was really just a brief thing. I was walking home, and he said my name. So I turned around to look at him because I didn't recognize him. How did he know my name? And he asked me if I knew what kind of powers that I had. And I didn't really say anything. I was like, I don't know this guy. I don't know what powers he's talking about. I'm just, not going to go there. And then, but I kind of thought with my mind is, well, maybe he's talking about like how I know things. And then he answered in my mind that yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about. And so, I was like, okay, and he just said that, one day you'll grow to basically just stay on the right path, and someday you'll be able to grow into your powers, and, we may be able to work together. And I think I was only 7 years old at the time, so I really didn't understand a lot of that, and it's something I actually kind of forgot about until I was older. And then just a couple years ago, I suppose it was, there was a tall, blonde woman that was speaking to me. I was going through a real emotional time, and she was just a total stranger that came up and, gave me some wonderful wisdom and piece of advice, and it was just so peaceful and calming to me, and exactly what I needed to hear at that time. And I asked her, I said, are you an angel or something? Just kind of joking around. And she said, no, my name is, I can't remember, it started with an N, something kind of sounded like Natasha or something like that, but she said that she was from the Pleiades, and, she was just helping me and helping to guide me, and I knew at that time that, something really big was about to open up and happen in my life, and that's really when everything really started happening.
And you were 7 years old at the time?
No. This was just a couple years ago when the tall blonde Pleiadian woman spoke to me.
No,
but I was 7 years old when the old man spoke to me.
Oh my gosh. So,
yeah.
Oh my gosh. So do you think then that's why you are, these interdimensionals are coming to you because they know about it? The word maybe has spread that you are able to communicate with them?
Well, it's always been in the plan to begin with. Everybody has these abilities, and, this is all something that's just reality, but it's here in these three-dimensional bodies where everything is so dense, most people aren't able to tune into that frequency to, communicate with them. And, I guess in this lifetime I was already born a little bit more advanced, which was why I'm able to, see and hear these things from a young age. But I dismissed it, and I forgot about it, and I grew out of it for a long time. And I wasn't connected to that for several years until I was, I guess about 5 years ago is when it really started. When my son was born, when I was pregnant, is when I felt all of these things beginning to happen. And for some reason, I just knew that my child and my son was something special, and I knew that all of this was going to be beginning for me. And it did. It was actually a special couple years after my son was born is when everything just really came to a head, and things that you would consider to be absolutely crazy started happening. So I had to really start paying attention, and I was just kind of thrust into it, but it's been a real blessing.
Now, you communicate with other interdimensional beings. What kind of beings?
I call beings basically anything that has a soul that's not human. I can communicate with some animals, and I can communicate with different star people, but that doesn't mean I can communicate with all of them. They choose to come to me and to talk to me about different things. But I'm also, if I focus, I can try to tune into them and communicate with them, but it's really all up to them and what they want to do. But I also speak with the Sasquatch people, and like I said before, I also talk with even deceased humans that are having trouble, going into the next world and where they belong. So I can help them with that also.
Do they reach out to you?
Yes. I might be able to reach out to them, but I haven't tried. I feel that's a little intrusive, and this isn't really something I studied for or wanted or anything. I was really afraid of it for a very long time, and so now once I just let go and accepted that that's what it is, and I know that I have these abilities because I'm supposed to help people with them, and so I just changed my outlook on it, and that's what I do now. It's just all for the highest good.
Now, what about messages? You said that they give you messages. What kind of messages do they give you?
It depends. They tell me, things that may be about to happen, or a lot of them are just personal messages. They're just of a personal nature and things that I could do to improve myself or improve things in my life. But mainly the general overall message that they want to give me and to give all of humanity is that we need to love each other unconditionally. We need to respect each other, and that we need to find peace within ourselves, and that it begins with us. In order to have peace here on the earth whatsoever, it has to begin with us on the individual level.
Do you think that they want you to give this message out to all of us?
Yes. Yeah, I know for sure they do. This is the message that they give me and hundreds of other people that, Kiwoni and I are both in contact with hundreds of people, that call or email or write and let us know of their different experiences and the messages that they're getting. And all of them are the same message, basically, just talking about walking in love and, having a grateful heart and, stopping the violence and the negative thinking and judging one another and, polluting the planet and everything that we're doing to harm each other and harm humanity in general.
But now Sasquatch, though, they only it seems like they only talk with certain people or those that are in tuned. I have seen where other people are in contact with Sasquatch, but people seem to laugh at that, Kelly. People make rude remarks about it, and they think people are crazy because they're able to communicate with the Sasquatch.
I've experienced a lot of that, so I completely understand. And when it all really first started happening, I had my own doubts about my own sanity because I knew what was happening, and I knew that it was of a loving nature and that they're here to help me. It wasn't anything that I was, afraid of or anything like that. So it was really hard for me to admit and tell people that what I was experiencing. But that's when I met Kiwoni. I found somebody that I could speak to, and the messages really all started with him as well, or about him. Is when I really started getting the communication. They were telling me that I could talk to him, and once we started talking, a few months went by, and our relationship started to grow more because they were insisting that we were soulmates and that we're meant to be together. And, so it was really unbelievable, and our relationship wasn't anywhere near there. So for Sasquatch to be telling me this, I was just wondering what was going on. And, now I completely understand it. It's when you let go and, just have faith that these things that they're telling you in your heart is what's going on. You just have to trust it.
You sent me Kelly, you sent me a picture with you and Kawani and your son. You're sitting next to a gray, I guess, and then you have other entities in the back. And are these you said these were your guides?
Yes, and that picture, in particular, the one on the far left is Suni. She is my, the two on the left are mine, personally, that have always kind of been with me. Suni, she's a female Sasquatch and half ancient one as well, and she's also shares a soul entity with a Hopi medicine woman. And so she gives me all kinds of advice and wisdom that's of a Native American nature. She teaches me a lot about shamanism and things like that. And she's very motherly, the type of advice and everything that she gives, and just the way that she speaks and treats me, it's just very motherly. And then the one that's beside her is George, who I have actually seen physically. And he tells me that he's been with me since birth, and that he's my guide, and he's a very jovial person. He likes to play jokes, and he's like my brother. And we're really close. I feel closest to him because we joke around with each other in such a way, and then he's always constantly in here doing things that I think other people would really go crazy if they were experiencing some of the things that we do here. But they move stuff around on us and everything. I'll get into one of those stories more later.
Okay.
But besides George, the tall blonde one, that's Snowhawk. And he's our Kiwanianized guide together, basically. He's with us all the time, and he pops in nearly every day to let us know that he's there and, to deliver some kind of message to us of some sort. And then the one that's beside Snowhawk on the far right, that's Halodi, who is an ancient one that Kiwani befriended back in 2004 or 2005 when he was in Oklahoma. And I don't know if you've seen them, but they Kiwani and her had quite a bit of correspondence together. He would write her notes, and she would write back. And a few of those notes are in his second book, The Sasquatch People and Their Interdimensional Connection. You can see a few of those notes. But I've also posted quite a few of them on our Sasquatch People page on Facebook, too.
Are they actually writing these notes, or are you writing them for them?
Oh, no, she wrote them. Most of them cannot write, as far as I know, but she was able to. She was practiced it, and it's something that she wanted to learn. But they can live much longer than we can, so we're here to experience all kinds of different things happening in this country, and they're able to observe and watch, and since they're able to be interdimensional, they could be right next to you and, learning with you, and you would never know it. Oh. So, but Halodi did say that she learned how to do that, but most of the time if they, quote unquote, write, they use Ogam, which is like stick figures.
This is really hard to take all this in. This must be really difficult for you. Now, an artist drew that picture. Were you able to give them the descriptions of those entities, those beings, or did this artist just come up with what he thought they looked like?
know her name is Ashley Ruiz, who drew that, and I explained to her, I gave her descriptions of how they looked, but I drew them myself. I haven't released my own drawings of them yet. I'm going to put them in my book, but I sent them to her so that she could kind of copy off of them too. Mm-hmm. But I gave her some, detailed descriptions of what they look like.
So you've seen them? Then you've
yes.
seen them?
Yes. Like I said, George is the only one that I've actually really seen physically. But I can see them in my mind's eye. It's like really, being able to look into another dimension, even though they're not physically standing in front of me. I'm able to basically just look through that and see them. And they're not really that solid when I see them in that state, but I can still make out, all the details, their height and, the color of their hair or whatever it might be. But a lot of times it's also just these visions and their mental projections that they're sending to me too.
Then you mostly communicate with Sasquatch?
It's kind of back and forth, really. It's both. It's Sasquatch as well as, the ancient ones. They're pretty much all the same. The only difference would be like, physical descriptions of them, but they're all of, a hairy race of beings that have the same mission here on Earth. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no. Well, you call it Sasquatch. Other people call it. I consider when somebody says Yeti, I think of them in the snow country, and I think of them as white, but I know there's red-haired one, white-haired one, dark brown. Is there black as well? Are they all considered Sasquatch, Bigfoot? Do they all have the same name? Are they all part of the same race?
No, they're really all different, just kind of like humans, they're all a hairy race of beings, basically, but they're all different, just like how, we would categorize Japanese and Irish and Italian, and, we're all human, so there's no difference there, but, as far as, a lot of people are concerned, they like to classify that, to identify. And so the Sasquatch are like that too. There's lots of different races of them. There's, tall ones and short ones, and some that are primarily a blonde color, and some that are, different colors, or some that even have different types of personalities and ways of living. Some of them are still a lot more spiritually evolved than others. A lot of them, especially like the Sasquatch and like what they call the skunk apes down in Florida, or the Yeti, and some of the more physical ones. I don't want to say that they're not as evolved, but since they're here and on the Earth, they're in bodies that are denser. So they are, when they're physically in a body, they do have, I guess you could almost say, a lower level of consciousness, because most physical bodies aren't able to transcend that. So there are all kinds of different ones, and there's even been legends, and I personally believe that all legends are true. They're based on some kind of truth, but so there's legends of, little short, fat, hairy ones that are just seen running through the forest, and there's legends of big, scary ones even, and that's true. But for the most part, the Sasquatch and the ancient ones are loving, kind beings, but there are a few rogue ones, and there are a few particular ones that may not have the best personalities, but it's not really something to be fearful of, and the media has played on that really largely, and now everybody thinks they're monsters. So.
Well, they're out to capture one. I heard your video the other night, and I heard you talk about this fellow that had seen a Sasquatch, confronted him, and he sold his farm and never came back.
Yes.
So people are that scared of them that they won't even try to communicate with them.
Yes, fear is very powerful. Even it's not more powerful than love, because nothing is, but, it's almost just as powerful. And it's what drives so much. People fear what they don't understand, and, they're fearful just because it's an experience that they can't explain. And, unfortunately, that's how it was, but I think nowadays it's not nearly as bad. I mean, some people would still be fearful of it, but now the world seems to have a much better understanding of it, and it seems that people are finally coming to terms with the paranormal and the understanding that there's things that are not physical and there's things in this world that we can't explain. And, so that makes it, I think, a little bit better as far as, the fear that some people have and the way that they act out.
I also heard you talking about the communication with the Sasquatch, about throwing the rocks and banging on trees. And so if there is say there's a family camping out in the woods somewhere, mm-hmm. and Sasquatch is there close by, would he want to communicate with those people, or would he want to only communicate with, one of them or the whole group, or would he want them gone because he discovered them in his area?
Most likely the last one. It would really all depend on the person and the Sasquatch, too. It depends on if they had something that they needed to tell somebody that was in that group. But it's really just a personal one-on-one thing. I mean, they can be spotted accidentally, and then they may, deliver some kind of telepathic communication, but a lot of times people are getting telepathy and they don't even realize it. Like when they're getting scared, or, you could be walking in the woods and for some reason you just get this creepy, eerie feeling and you're fearful and you just want to turn around and go back and you don't know why you felt that way. Well, they could be telepathing to you and projecting this energy to keep you out of their area, and you didn't even know why you felt that way. But if, for instance, somebody that they were watching and protecting and guiding and helping to get, to the new world and everything like that, and they wanted to show themselves or deliver some kind of message, they would. But for the most part, they're pretty territorial, and, they're big protectors of their family and the things that they love, of course. So, they don't like most humans, and they would probably try to scare you off. You'll notice when they do throw rocks and, hit trees and things like that, they're not doing anything that's actually going to harm that person. They're just doing things that sound scary to try to get them out of the area. They don't try to hurt people.
What's their form of communication with one another? Say one's a couple miles away and they want to communicate with that other Sasquatch.
Well, I would assume it would be like telepathy, and also they have access to a whole different kind of network that, our human bodies aren't really used to, but it goes beyond telepathy. It's an energy type of communication where they can, just kind of focus and tune in on that person or the Sasquatch or whatever being they want to deliver a message to or tell something to, and then they're able to send that thought projection. So it's like telepathy, but it's basically just like sending energy through a wire kind of thing.
I've heard people say that they look for Sasquatch and they'll be in the woods, and one form is how they will bang on a tree. And from what I understand, some people have gotten the bang back. Are they trying to send a message? What are they doing when they knock back?
Just amusing the people, I think, because they're so much more advanced than a lot of the Bigfoot hunters and people think that they are. If they're knocking and trying to get their attention, I think they're just really humoring them and knocking back. Because if these people could just learn how to tune in, they could tell them everything that they want to know. But these people really have fear for the most part. A lot of them that go out there and, they don't have the right intentions when they go out. They're either going out to try to shoot one or to try to get a picture to make a whole bunch of money or to, just inflate their ego or to, try to get a movie deal or something like that. And, Sasquatch don't care about any of that. And that's just all ego, and it's that type of attitude that's, feeding all of the bad stuff in the world. So they just want to avoid all of that.
There's hardly any pictures of the Sasquatch or the Bigfoot. Why is that? Why is it so difficult to get a picture of one?
Well, because they're able to cloak themselves, for one. So, a lot of times they're just not seen, or when they're seen, they're purposefully being seen when they know that nobody will be able to capture their photo. But the biggest reason, I think, that because there really are hundreds of thousands of photos out there, they're just not good. They're blurry, or it's just a face peeking through the trees, or, it's something that's like camouflaged into its environment. But I really truly believe that it is all them. I know that these people aren't, or most of them aren't just making something up, that they really experience something and want to share that with people. But I know that their energy basically is what causes the blurriness in the photos, or what causes them not to turn out. Because just as many blurry photos there are, I'll tell you that people have taken photos and said, "Oh yes, I know and then when they get home, there's nothing there. It's all black or all gray or something like that. And, I don't know if they're purposefully putting that out there to blip them out. I don't think that they are, because I think it's just that their energies, it just doesn't, it's not as dense as ours, and so we're not able to really capture a really great photograph of them.
Are they afraid of us, Kelly?
Yes, I would say so. More than, afraid of us is a good word, but the way that they look at us, what they told me before and what they've told Kiwoni, is that they look at us as big children, and we're big children that kind of got out of control, where you would think, oh, well, who would be afraid of a kid? But wouldn't you be afraid of a kid that was, knew how to fire a rifle and had one pointed at your head? So it's the same kind of thing with them. We're destructive, and for the most part, we don't have any good intentions. Most of the time when somebody's going out into the woods looking for Sasquatch, it's not for any good reason, and so they don't want to associate with us, and we've ruined the planet that that they live on as well, and, we're just destructive and negative, and, so, basically they're afraid of us, or they don't want anything to do with us, and the only ones that they do really want something to do with is the ones they know have the potential to transcend all of that. And to kind of answer your question from earlier too, is the people that they quote unquote choose. It's not really the Sasquatch choosing them. It's who your personal soul is. Because we keep coming back and back and back. All of us have been here for hundreds of thousands of years. Keep coming back and having different experiences and learning everything over and over. And the Sasquatch are the same way, except that they've always been these higher evolved beings that are helping us. They were here first. They were here before the humans. Mm-hmm. And so they're helping guide us to this point in our lives. Because some of these things that, happen in the universe, it's fate, basically. It's already written in the stars that some of these things are going to happen. But so much of it is our own free will to decide and, to create for ourselves. And so they're trying to help, the Sasquatch and the Star People are trying to help guide us through our consciousness, which is the only way that we could really listen to them. If you woke up and saw one sitting on your couch, you would just freak out instead of listen to him,
Oh, yeah.
So that's the way that, they're able to reach us.
We have a question. How long have they been around? How long have they been here on Earth?
They say that they were seated here before humans. Let me see. I did have a notebook. I'm trying to think of the way that they said it exactly, but they said that they were here before Adam and Eve, and that they were seated here on the planet to protect, our Mother Earth and everything like that. And then later on is when humans were created.
Now I heard you and I think I heard you and Kwani talking on your video about they were killed. Who was killing them years ago?
Well, all kinds of killing the Sasquatch.
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure exactly what he was referring to, but it might have been one of two things, I suppose. On our video, we were talking about somebody had asked about all of the missing people that are, that's going on in the forest right now and everything. And the Sasquatch told us, because a lot of people are very concerned that this is Sasquatch doing this. And the Sasquatch told us that, no, it's not them, it's not their loving people, but it is a hairy race of these monsters, basically, that were created with part of their DNA and then, part of the more malevolent means. And that they are killing some of the Sasquatch. They're the ones that are responsible, or partly responsible anyway, for the killing and missing people. And that the Sasquatch said that these beings are so super and have even, bigger capabilities and powers that they do, that they're not really able to track them very well, and that these super beings, super Sasquatch, have killed some Sasquatch.
Oh.
So I think that's maybe what you're referring to.
No, I guess I misunderstood. It was something else. Now, you're talking about David Pilates and his books about the 411 missing, where people go into the national forests and they disappear. Yes. Well, they're blaming that on Sasquatch and aliens.
Right. Well, it's just, hard to say without a whole bunch of physical evidence, but the Sasquatch did want us to, set the record straight that it's not them, it's not the beings that Kiwoni and I are referring to, that they're, loving people that want to help humanity and not hurt us, but they are very aware that there are a lot of bad and evil beings. And as a matter of fact, they said last night to me that, or not last night, they told me a part of this, but they said that portals and doors are opening that are, allowing more beings to come through, and that basically the veil is thinning, and that more interdimensional phenomenon will be occurring. It's been slight and happening little by little, but last night, apparently something shifted, something large happened, and I didn't get the details from them, but I feel very strongly it had to do with the CERN, the nuclear research in Switzerland, because yesterday they smashed together some subatomic particles that, at nearly the speed of light, to open up a portal or to access another dimension. And, so we knew that this was happening, and then last night I got, a message, it sounded almost urgent, that, hey, this is happening right now, that this door is opening right now. And, there's been a lot of concern and, a lot of religious groups and all kinds of, New Age websites. And it's really been all around about September 23rd, yesterday being, a day that some big disaster was going to happen. And, I think that a big part of it is that this CERN collider, it's made of these super magnets that are like 100,000 times more powerful than the Earth's gravitational field. So the scientists are playing God, basically, and they shouldn't be doing that. And, the Sasquatch and the ETs have warned against this, too. But with these super magnets, it could attract asteroids or create a black hole or anything like that. And, some of it seems kind of far out there, but they don't know what they're messing with either, and that's when they say that we're like children, that's literally what they mean. It's like a child playing with a loaded handgun with no idea of what could happen if they pull that trigger.
Kelly, I aired a show a couple of weeks ago on the Day at Love Pass incident. I don't know if you're familiar with that at all. It was the Day at Love Pass incident in Russia, the Ural Mountains, where 9 students went hiking to reach a certain mountain of the dead, and they were all killed. And it's a mystery as to how they died. And they were all they were all scattered all over. They were running from something. They scrambled and cut their way out of their tent. It was storming and snowing. They left with some in their underwear, with no shoes, no socks. It was a horrible incident. And at that particular time, the United States was involved with Russia to capture a Yeti, a Russian Yeti. And they had some kind of contract. But the day that these Russian students took off for the hike up into these mountains, that pact with Russia and the United States ended. And I don't know why on that particular day. Anyway, so these 9 students were killed. Their bodies were found in different states of decomposition, and being in the snow, they shouldn't have been, because you know how ice preserves. And so the viewers want to know if there's any way that you might know, or maybe you could find out, if the Russian Yeti had anything to do with killing those students. Because he is human.
I really don't think so, but I will try to, ask my guides what they know about that, for sure. I do know that, there are just as many good star people or aliens as there are. There's also some bad ones that, don't have very good intentions for us here. So I would probably veer more towards that in that kind of situation, because that's a lot of people, and I don't know, it just doesn't seem to match up for me. Anything's possible, but from what I know about the Sasquatch people, that would be hard to say, but it could be a mutant or something that was created, some kind of other being that looks like a Sasquatch that was created, kind of like what I had told you earlier. So that's possible, and I will ask, and I'll follow up with you if I get an answer.
Really? Well, that would be great. That would be great if they could tell you. Would they be able to know something like that in another country?
Oh, sure. They would know, as long as they're connected with it, and if they're able to tune into that too. I don't really know how they know what they know. If they're all knowing, or if there's some kind of network, or if it's how connected they are with it. Because a lot of times, sometimes different information will come from different sources, and others, I've asked some Sasquatch or ancient ones a question sometimes, and they'll just, straight out tell me I don't know, but then another guide might come to Kiwoni and tell him. So, I'm not sure where they get their information, but, if it trickles down to the right sources, I might be able to get an answer, because we've done that before. That's how we found out about these other beings that were created using Sasquatch DNA, but they're not Sasquatch.
All right, if it wasn't Sasquatch and there was also a possibility of aliens, would they be able to tell you that as well?
Yes, yeah, they should be able to. Because they're, really, like I said, even though they're all kinds of different races of beings, we're all God's children, and so even though us as humans aren't as connected with all of these different beings, they're connected with each other, and not necessarily for all the, the different systems, but they are a lot more than we are. That's for sure. They're able to communicate.
Kelly, I've done several shows on Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and we seem to get different answers from everybody. Everybody seems to say, except for you and Kiwoni, you're on the same level, but other people have said, my latest one said something so different from the other guests I had on the show. What about, I'm curious about, where does Sasquatch live in caves? Do they build shelters for themselves? Do they travel solo? Do they travel with a family? Do they mate with more than one female? I would like to know how that all works with the Sasquatch.
Right. Well, just like humans, it's really a different story for every person. They're individuals. They're people, just like us. So each one of them have a different story. Each one of them have a different living arrangement or a different job, or a different place that they live and travel to, kind of thing. So it's really hard to say that it's one way or another. But they do have families. Some of them are really dedicated to their families, whereas others, I know, do, I don't want to say travel, but they have different life missions, so that they don't actually settle down and procreate. So it varies so much. They do live in caves. They do build shelters. They also live underground. They work underground. I don't know exactly what they're doing under there, but it's some kind of mining work. They use crystals a lot, and they've been underground mining for crystals. And I've also heard it and felt it myself. I've had other contactees report before that there's something going on, like some kind of machinery, something going on underneath the earth, because I can sometimes feel it and hear it. And it might be them mining, or it might be them, preparing a place for us or for themselves or something like that. But I do know that they do spend quite a bit of time underground, and that's not all of them. That's just some of them. And I know for certain that that's true in Arkansas, where I used to live, but that was also, there was so many different crystal caves and mines and everything there too, so I think that that's part of the reason that they were so heavily underground there.
Are they interdimensional, where they can show themselves and then disappear?
Oh, yes. Yes, definitely, and they do for a lot of different people. When people spot them physically, they're not always physical. There's times where they go into other dimensions, or they might even go through portals to go into the other dimension. I don't know how that works exactly. I don't know if some of them have to travel via portal and and some of them do or don't have the ability to, cloak themselves or basically go invisible, interdimensionally. But I know that they're also able to shape shift and project their consciousness through something else. They could quickly shape shift and be a tree standing right next to you and you wouldn't know it. And there's so many different occasions where I know that they're following me, in the form of a bird or an eagle or a hawk flying above me, and just being with me during my whole hike or something like that. And it's not necessarily every time, but when they let me know when they are.
We have a question.
Okay.
If they were here before man, who is their creator?
Well, let me see. I have a notebook right here. I'm going to see if I can get the exact words that they use from my notes with Haloti. But basically, God created all of us. The thing is that God isn't a person. It's a source. It's an energy, and it's something that's within all of us. So when we say, God created humans and God created the aliens and the Sasquatch, all of that's true. But there is actually a race of aliens, star people, that created us. So you would hear them referred to mainly as the Anunnaki, is what most people refer them to. And so they did create us, and I believe then that they or some other star race also created the Sasquatch people. But all of our creations are through God. If you look at us humans, we're creators too. I grew and I carried a baby in my belly, so I created something, and that that's the creator gene that's within us all, and it's the source that's within us all. Because without God, the child that you grow in your stomach isn't going to have any life. So God is the creating force, but there's different races that have created different beings. And it's not just one particular race.
And do they use that name, God, or do they just say a higher being?
The Sasquatch say God, but that's because they know that that's what I'm comfortable and familiar with. They'll use whatever people are mostly familiar with. But they do speak about God. They talk about the Son of God. They talk about Jesus. And, they're very much in tune with all of that, except they have a much higher understanding of it than we do, because humans think so third-dimensionally. And, so when we talk about God, even we call it a he. It's not a he, but we have to, categorize things, and so that's the best that we can do. But calling it God, calling it the Great Spirit, or the Creator Source, or whatever you want to call it, it's all the same. It's the same that's within us all.
Since you're able to communicate with them, do you ever sit down and have conversations with them and ask them about if there's a heaven, if there's a hell, what happens to us after we die, what happens at that point when our soul leaves the body?
I haven't really sat down and had conversations, no, but there's been times where I am, just a few times where I'm able to sit down and ask a few questions and write down those few answers. Now, actually, Haloti, Kiwoni asked several of these types of questions when he was writing back and forth with the Ancient Ones in Oklahoma in 2005. And he asked all of these questions and got very, their answers are very to the point, and they don't waste any words, but she says that, Jesus is the Son of God. She says that God creates heaven and that we create our own hell. she says, what were some of the other questions you asked?
What happens when we die? What happens to us when our soul leaves our body? What happens to us?
She says that we keep coming back until we learn the lessons that we need to.
So they're talking about reincarnation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we keep coming back until we learn what it is that we need to learn. Is
that always the case? I mean, is that always... Suppose you don't want to come back.
It's not always the case, but eventually you're going to. Eventually you're going to have to learn your lessons one way or another, because we voluntarily came here, and you know, there's lots of other souls that have never been earthbound, and you know, that's why they're able to be at this higher state of consciousness. Once we came into these bodies, we lost everything. We lost all of our abilities and powers and memories of everything, and so it's really you know, quite an undertaking that we did, not knowing what we were doing. We volunteered to come here to try to help humanity and to, you know, work on this mission and project that we're doing for the universe. And we all came here with the best of intentions, but somewhere along the line, you know, our brains and the whole earth or the world got in our way, and you know, we just became conditioned to all of these ridiculous things that humans made up in this world, and none of it's real, none of it's reality. You know, if you want to look at basically the way we should be living, we should look at the animals. They don't need you know, homes and cars and clothing and money and you know, legal documents and, you know, whatever, things like that. Just all of this is completely unnecessary to live and to survive, and it's cut us off from being truly human. You know, we've kind of lost sight of who we are and what we came here to do. But now, in this age, and, you know, as the shift is happening to the world, people are beginning to remember, and the Sasquatch and the ETs are here to remind us. And, you know, being that you're doing this paranormal show, I'm sure that you've probably heard a lot of it lately, just people coming out and talking about, you know, the different communication that they've had, or messages, or unbelievable things that they've seen, and, you know, these things in the news reports, and that's because it is becoming more advanced. These beings are visiting us more, and we're finally, as humans, we're finally opening up enough to accept this and to remember who we are and to remember why we're here. So it's really just, it's such a beautiful thing. And at the same time that it's negativity and negative things happening in this world, we're seeing people doing crazier things than ever, and, you know, killing their children, and all these ridiculous laws being passed, and, you know, all of our rights and freedoms taken away, and, you know, everything like that. So you could choose to focus on those negative things if you want to, and then that's going to be your reality in the world that you live in. You know, because we see people so bitter and hateful and everything about their lives and their jobs and their families and their government and everything like that. But the message that the Sasquatch and the Star People want to deliver to us is how to train, you know, our own minds and our own hearts to look at the good side of that, and to stop fearing, and to stop doubting, and to be kind to one another, treat each other with respect and compassion, and try to get away from all this consumerism and thought of, you know, everybody seems to want to do everything to advance financially, and that's not the way to go. It turns us into the people that we shouldn't be. And, you know, so that's the message that they're trying to give us is lighten up and stop trying to complicate your life so much, and return to the natural native ways. That's, you know, like I'm taught so many different things about shamanism, how we can connect with our inner selves and connect with the earth and connect with these other beings, you know, by meditation is the number one way, but there's also factors of, even as far as diet and exercise, where people are going to the doctors all the time and getting drugs and getting flu shots, and we're eating, the food that we have available to us isn't even food most of the time. This GMO and, non-organic food is bad enough, but just, the dyes and preservatives and all of these, chemicals that they pretend are food ingredients, they're hurting our bodies, not only physically, but it's hurting us spiritually too, because just like how the Bible says that our body is a temple, we do have to take care of it in order to try to be as far as advanced as we can be. If you have all kinds of different diseases or have things going on in your body that's slowing you down, you're putting your focus towards that instead of spiritual matters. So they just teach the importance of that, and using herbs and the things that the earth provides for us here and now, that's always been available to help heal us and, to help us advance and get over things, even spiritually, as far as shamans are able to take people back to, retrieve a lost soul. And now our whole world is filled with all of these lost souls, not knowing who they are or where they're going. And, they also just teach me the basics of like using crystals and essential oils, and the gifts that we have of song and music, and using drumming and rattles and things like that to connect to the earth. And they all seem like simple things, or, how could anything like that possibly happen? But it's really all a great part of how we connect ourselves to God, which is, like I said, the source that's within all of us. So we should be doing these kinds of ceremonies and practices to help connect to our higher selves and to each other so that we can evolve together.
There's a question. She says, Norene, what about other gods and goddesses?
Yes, they all exist. Some of them are with different cultures and things, but I personally believe that these gods and goddesses were different ETs that came here at different times. Because it's not just right now that they're coming to teach us these things. They've been doing this forever, coming and teaching. And, it's the same. Jesus came to come and teach love to people, and Buddha came to teach love to people. And so this is the goddesses and ascended masters and other legends and deities that were once visited here. I personally believe that all of that happened at some point.
Also, a viewer wanted to know about fairies. We've never talked about, and I've never talked about fairies on my Do You Believe show. Do you know anything about that?
I know that they exist, and I did see some one time, but it was from a distance. I didn't see them real up close, but it was in an area that was a portal that I was very aware of, and I saw these little things flying around, and so when I got closer, it would disappear. And I'd walk a little bit closer, or walk back a little bit further, because, okay, where did they go? And there they were again. But every time I get a little closer, they would disappear. But I do know that they definitely exist. They don't like to interact with humans. The only time they do is, classically, sometimes little children, because their hearts and their minds are so open, and they're really just such innocent people that, they'll sometimes communicate with them. But they're nature spirits, and so they can also be, they can be kind of temperamental, and you don't want to mess with them. You could leave them gifts and things like that, or, little offerings, and let them know that you appreciate and love their kind of thing, but most likely they're not going to interact with somebody because they're here doing their own thing.
So are these fairies only in the woods? I mean, I've seen people post on YouTube that they're in their own backyard.
Oh, sure, that would be possible too. Yeah, they wouldn't necessarily just be in the woods. I think that they're probably drawn to certain areas or different energy that's in that area, or maybe just near portals. I don't really know how they choose their locations, but I know that they could be anywhere in the backyard. They could be under somebody's home even.
Would it be possible to have these fairies visit your property without you even knowing it? And if you want to put out, I know they like sweets and sugar. So if you put out like an offering to them, would they know it's there and just come?
I would think so, as long as you set your intentions straight with them. It's, just like the Sasquatch or anything else, is just talk to them and visualize them like they're there, and let them know your intentions, that I'm leaving this gift for you because I love you so not much, not because you're wanting something in return, but it's all with your intentions. Even if you didn't say to them, I'm leaving you this chocolate because I'm secretly hoping I can get a picture of you, they'll be able to read that thought and feel that projection that you're putting out there. But if you're really just doing it out of love, if you just really have this really fond curiosity for them and want to know more, you could do that. You build a typical little fairy house, and little moss and flowers and cuteness and all of that. They really like all of that. So you could build your own little fairy house and invite them and give them little gifts of. For the Sasquatch, I like to give them crystals and feathers, and we give them salt blocks sometimes, or sometimes chocolate. But I really like to give them more natural gifts. I usually almost always give them some kind of stone, and it's the kind of gifts that they give us. But anyhow, I would probably leave some of that for the fairies too, and just invite them in, and they will come. My best friend is really fond of fairies, and she had a couple little fairy ornaments in a little patch in her yard, and she would talk to the fairies sometimes and wish that they would visit her. And on a couple of different occasions, I witnessed myself where something had moved within a short amount of time after she talked to the fairies there. So, that's pretty interesting too. And whether it was them or not, I don't know, but there wasn't an opportunity for a person to have done it, I'll tell you that.
Kelly, Bigfoot seems to be everywhere. Are there countries where Bigfoot might not be?
There's several. I think Kiwoni would really be the one to ask more about that, because he's really researched it a lot more than I have. But there's several countries where they are not, but then there's several countries where they're really heavily populated, and some where there's just like 2 or 3 of them.
How long do they usually live? Do you know their lifespan?
I don't exactly. Kiwoni says that he was told before that on average their physical bodies would be about 150 years. But I also know that, basically our soul is ageless and limitless. And so I think that the ones that travel more interdimensionally, and that live in different realms, I think that they could live to be hundreds or thousands of years old, because, well, technically we're all that old too.
Well, I was told by someone that talks about aliens that we as humans used to live like over 100 years old, 200 years old, but the aliens changed our DNA and now we die a lot younger. Have you ever heard of that?
I have. Well, even Bible talks about Methuselah lived to be 969 years old. And there's also been lots of stories of other people living to be, into their 900s or into thousands of years old as well. And, I know that we really are the beings on Earth. So I don't want to say humans because animals and anybody that's earthbound would apply to this. But because this planet is at such a low density, a low frequency, it's kind of necessary for us to have to die and start back over, just because our bodies wouldn't be able to handle it that long. And 100 years seems like a really long time to us, but that's nothing. It's really nothing. It's just a second in the universe. 100 years is. So, we just keep coming back to learn these lessons that we need to learn. Because if we live 900 years, it would really take a really long time. But then again, it's kind of a curse, I guess. I've heard that, the ETs, some of the quote-unquote bad ETs that, don't have a good intention for the humans, that they did, manipulate our DNA and do something so that, we have to die more frequently and have to start over again. And it was kind of part of a devious plan on their end. And this is just a theory that I've been told that I'm repeating to you. So I don't know if any of that is true or not. But, there's good ETs that are pulling for us and, want the earth and everything to survive. And they want us to remember who we are. And, so that we can join them once again in the universe, because right now we're so separated from them because, we're just not at that level of consciousness. But then apparently there's also bad ETs that would rather, I guess in a sense, like harvest our souls. And, so they're putting these intentions out there to try to, stop us, and that they're kind of the force that's, leading the governments and things to do the things that they're doing that's ending the world. Because we could look at it on an individual basis, and yes, this person, everybody has a little bit of negativity in them, or, everybody might feel a little bit of hate towards something, and we're humans, so that's normal. But the things that's really changing this world drastically in the attitudes of everybody is, everything that our government is imposing upon us. Basically, if it wasn't for all of these rules that we had to follow, we wouldn't be in the state of chaos that we're in, mentally and emotionally and physically. And, so even though it does take each individual to change themselves, it's kind of undeniable that it's, the big cheeses that are making all these decisions for us, that's bringing the world to where it is. And it's rumored that these, bad ETs work with the government to have that happen. So I can't say one way or another, but from a lot of the things that I've read, I can see a lot of sense out of that.
I know we touched on this earlier, but a viewer wants to know how many different Bigfoots, Sasquatch are there?
I couldn't say. If I had to guess, I'd say there's probably at least 30 different races. And as far as a population of them, I couldn't even say. I'd be afraid to go there. But I would say there's, thousands of them here on the earth, I'm sure of. But as far as a close number, I couldn't really say.
Do they get diseases that you know of? What do they die from when they eventually die?
I'm not really sure, to be honest. I know that my guy George, he told me that his father was killed, and I don't know if that was by a human or maybe it was by, some other kind of being. I'm not really sure. I didn't push because I kind of felt the sadness in him, and I figured he'd let me know if he wanted to. But I'm not really sure, but I do know that their deaths, for the most part, are something conscious and something, unless it's an accident or unless it's a human causing the death. For the most part, I think that it's a conscious death where they're, make that decision to do so. But the means of death, I don't know. I don't know if they eat bad berries and die or something like that. But I do know that they use all of the herbs and the things that Mother Earth provides for us to help keep themselves healthy. That they're always, taking different herbs to prevent different diseases and things like that.
Then where do they? How do they?
Sorry, go ahead.
How did they dispose of the body so the humans don't find it? Because we haven't found one yet.
Right. I know that some of them would bury them in mounds. Haloti said, years ago that they used to bury them in mounds. And I also know that sometimes they're buried underneath large boulders. That you'll see big slabs or big boulders moved, and that they'll be buried underneath there. But I think sometimes also that they can just go interdimensional. I think that they're able to not leave a body sometimes too. So I don't really know how that works, if it's different races that are different. Like I said, there's so many questions I still don't have answers to, and maybe we never will until we're at that level of consciousness with them. But they're not concerned with a lot of these things either, because a lot of these questions and things that we think about are really strictly just things that are physical and things of the earth. And a lot of times they tell me that, that doesn't matter because, none of that kind of thing matters when I've asked them about different races of them and everything like that. They'll just respond that we're all God's children. So, it's almost like they're annoyed, kind of like with a little toddler that keeps asking why, and at times I think they just get kind of annoyed with answering these questions that they see basic. But I sure would like to know the answer to that one, though. But I do think some of them are able just to, like I said, when they consciously die, I think they can go interdimensional, so there is no body.
Yeah, because they've been seen for so long, but there's never been a body, which is,
right.
Now, what about, they do eat deer. They kill animals, right? Don't they eat deer and bunnies and besides the herbs and berries and things like that?
Yes, well, some do. Some are, strictly vegetarian, but I'd say for the most part, most of them will eat meat, but they don't do it excessively. They only do it for need, basically. And then they also, just kind of like the Native Americans would, they treat those animals with respect. And, the animal basically sacrifices itself. It knows that it's sacrificing itself for the greater good, and then the Sasquatch would give thanks to the animal, use all of the animal as they can, and give something back to the earth. Even if that's just, spitting on the ground, that's still giving something back to the earth.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting. This is, I know they want to get the word out. They're communicating with you, and I have seen other people who have said that they are communing with them as well, and it's all telepathy. And I had a guest not years ago, about 5 years ago, I interviewed, and I just released his interview, and of course I'm getting slack on that, but he also communicates with Bigfoot telepathically. But the thing is, we get different stories from everybody. We also had a guest that said things different from you. So different from the other. So it's, for us, it's really hard. For us who have never been in contact with Bigfoot or any kind of contact or even seen one, it's really hard for people like us to understand or sometimes to believe what you're saying, because it's really difficult. And where these Bigfoot, Sasquatch want to communicate and they want to get the word out, they're not doing that with a lot of people, it seems like. So how's this going to be, how are you going to be able to spread this word if they're not in touch with a lot of people?
Right. Well, this message isn't just coming from the Sasquatch people. We're in communication with them because they did choose us, in a sense, but they also call us family, and they tell us that we have, souls of ancient ones. So, being that we must have evolved with each other, several different times, and since they consider us close family, and this was kind of a part of our mission from the beginning. We agreed thousands of years ago that, in this lifetime that we would be here doing this mission. And, so they're here to help guide us on our mission, but everybody really has their own guides. It's just a matter of trying to tune into them.
Well, then why aren't they guiding these people in these foreign countries that are torturing humans and torturing animals? Why is that being allowed? What can they do about that?
Well, because we have our own free will, and it's something that's a blessing, but unfortunately we haven't done very good with it. And, that's the reason that the Sasquatch and the Star People can't interfere more at this point, is because it is our free will. It's for us to figure it out. It's for us to create and manifest our own reality. But the stupider that humans got, pardon the phrase, but that's basically what's happened, is instead of evolving, we just keep getting dumber with every generation, even though, it looks like technological advancement, but it's taking us further away from being human. And, as far as, all of the negative things happening in the world, it is their own choice to do that, but it's also just the times, and it's these particular souls, and these people have not learned their lesson, and they keep coming back, and they keep doing more horrible crimes. And so, each time that they come back, they're faced with more to deal with, and usually they'll end up making the wrong decision again, and making people suffer. So while it's not, I'm very empathetic, and it hurts to make me think of all the suffering and torture that people go through. But it's something that we all agreed to as well, unfortunately, even though we can't remember it, and it's hard to imagine that we would agree to come here and be punished that way. We were very aware of what Earth was going to be like and how difficult that it would be when we came here. And so while it's certainly not justified, the good part is that love will always win. It's always, the light is always over the darkness. So no matter how dark things get, the light will finally shine through at the end.
Mm-hmm. Are you into the paranormal at all, Kelly?
I am. I would watch, the different ghost shows and things like that several years ago, but I got to the point where I couldn't really, I can't handle TV anymore. I just really don't like to watch television. So I haven't followed up on anything that's really going on nowadays. And when I was, when I first started really getting communication and understanding my role with the Sasquatch. That's before all of these shows came out, and so now I understand there's like 4 or 5 different shows all about Bigfoot, and people refer to them a lot, but I don't even really know what they're referring to because I've never watched any of them.
Okay. Gosh. Well, do you think that one day, and I doubt if it'll be in my lifetime, that Bigfoot and humans will live in harmony? Do you think that's possible?
Not in this earth, I should say. I don't want to say not in this lifetime, but not under these circumstances. It's going to take a big radical shift. And, I don't know if you've heard some of the predictions and things, but what we're told is that, we're entering what they call the end times now, but that doesn't mean the end of the world, but it does mean basically a new beginning for a new humanity. And so there's all kinds of things happening in the world right now that they're trying to prepare us for, and they let us know that there's going to be a new earth, a new world that, these ascended souls, it doesn't necessarily mean people that are contactees, but it's the chosen people that have, lived their life the correct way, and that's a part of this mission, and that's worked hard doing service for others, to help, that will evolve into this new earth. And I don't know exactly what that's going to consist of, but I think that in this new earth, which is more like another dimension, kind of like another level of consciousness, I believe that we'll be able to live with them, in peace and harmony there, just like, with the other beings. But with here on this earth now, the way it is, no, it's going to get worse before it gets better. But it will get better.
All right, there's a question, and she has, I guess, kind of a concern. If I was created, how was I able to choose to be here?
Well, our soul, the human bodies were created by, the Anunnaki, or by different alien races. But your soul, before you were a body, you've always been a soul. You're just as always has been as God has always has been. And so, while we were up in the heavens or whatever star system that we came from, several different souls agreed to come here to Earth. And so, we agreed to this before we were ever even a human.
That's I've heard that many times. I've heard that explanation. Interesting.
Yeah, and I have something I'd like to share with you here, actually. This is a message that I got on September 13th this year. And it came to me because of all of the talk about, the disasters and things that would happen here this month in September, because things are supposed to happen anywhere between, I think it's the 13th and the 29th or something like that, all kinds of doors and portals are opening, and it's also what some religions are calling the end of Shemitah, which is like a calendar year, and every 7 years these big events happen, and anyhow, so that was all in alignment with it too. And we were discussing this, Kiloni and some friends and I were talking about it, and then shortly afterwards, I got this message, and I wrote it down, so I'm going to say this word for word.
All right.
It says, "We will be making a return today." This was September 13th. "This is not a scary event, as they preach, but a blessing to humanity. The earth has never seen energy like this, or what will occur over the next 15 days. You have the love and support of the universe during this time. We are watching and waiting and using this energy to benefit enlightened souls. Do not allow thoughts to deter you or cloud your mission. Now is the time to live in your heart and to help yourself and others in love. Keep seeking answers within yourself and sharing your truth with the world. There is so much light shining in the darkness now. We are coming now to work with some souls to help transition to the new earth. There is still so much more for you to understand, and we will help break barriers within so that you may transcend. We are proud of how far you've come and enjoy assisting you and humanity during this shift. I am Nak Tung of the Intergalactic Alliance Council. I am assigned to work with you and your tribe. I will be with all that your soul is connected to, and I use love energy to activate DNA and inspiration for travel, changes, and alliance. You've already seen your soul tribe finding their way, and my mission now is to help all of you get there together. 1 times 1 equals 1, but 2 times 2 equals 4. The force continues to rapidly multiply. Be mindful to accumulate only that which serves you well and helps you grow stronger in Christ consciousness. Tell your people to listen through their hearts for guidance. The world will tell you one way, but you will know another. Trust your knowing and act on it. These are the times that we've all been waiting for. Have no fear. It's a blessed time for all. So that was the message that I got the other day in reference to these scary end times. So they're letting us know that it's all okay, and even though, these big things are happening in the universe, and, the media is making it sound scarier than it is, they're with us here to help us and guide us and protect us through all of these changes. So there's really nothing to fear.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you want to give the viewers your website?
Yes. We have 2 websites, actually. The one that I have a bio on also is www.psychicsasquatch.com. And then Kiwoni also has a website that focuses mainly on his work, which is www.sasquatchpeople.com. And you can also follow us on Facebook. We have a page called Sasquatch People, and that's where I'm most active and post little articles and photos and things like that. So that's kind of the best place to keep in touch with us.
You're right. You're right in the process of writing a book, aren't you?
I am. I went a little slow for a while as life changes happened and everything, but now my son just started school back up, so I've got some free time, and that is my intention, is to get this out before the end of the year.
What's the name of the book?
I don't quite have a name for the book yet. I'm writing in the process, but I don't have a name for it yet.
Okay. Well, when you do, let me know. Okay.
Oh, yep. I sure will. It'll be all over. Anything that has Kiwoni's name on it, we'll be sure to let people know.
Kelly, I want to thank you so much for being on the show tonight. It was a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to have Kiwani and now you as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night, Kelly.
Okay, good night.
Thank you. Good night. Everybody, Kelly, again, thank you so much for being a guest on my show. It was a pleasure to have you and your insight on the Sasquatch for us. Everybody, thanks so much for being here. It's been a horrendous week, and I don't want to go into it, but it was a shocking week. And anyway, It's a very, very sad thing. It's had me very upset. And just they found out who the other fellow was that was shot. His name was Jimmy. And everybody pray for Debbie and Mark and Jimmy. Just pray for them, because Mark, bless it, the poor thing, he was troubled as well. And I know people are blaming him, and he was troubled. Anyway, thank you so much, everyone, for watching the show. And have a wonderful weekend. And do you want me to do a shout out? Oh, hey, you know what? Next week, I have a show. Oh, gosh, who do I have next week? Oh, God. You know who's coming back on the show? Her name is Deborah Moffat. Do you remember? I can't remember the book, but it's about, she wrote a second book, Deborah Moffat, and the show I did with her was the demon in her house. It drew symbols on the walls. It would throw knives across the room. It was it was a fabulous, one of my highest rated shows. Anyway, so she's coming back. And on October 8th, I have Karen A. Dahlman. She is a Ouija board expert, and she travels all over the country and all over conferences talking about the Ouija board. Now that'll be interesting as well. Then October 15th, I have a guest. His name is Steve Stockton. He's written a book about strange things in the woods. So I hope he tells us some scary stories. Yes, I'll do shout out. And oh God, on October 22nd, Mark Fultz is coming back. He's the one that I aired the show on Corpsewood Murders. I love that show. And believe it or not, there was a Jack the Ripper in Georgia. Atlanta, Georgia had its own Jack the Ripper. So he's going to talk about that story. And on October 29th, I have a guest. Her name is Heather Lynn. She is an archaeologist. She's written some fabulous books. She's extremely well known. And she's going to talk about evil archaeology. So that's what I have lined up for October. Okay, yes, let's do shout outs. Putty Tat, Quake Plays, Lynn Bowling, Trent Bennett. Thanks, Trent, for modding. F Warrior, Spooky Raven, my friend, Jay Alfred. I saw you came in late, Jay. Janet W, Chipateria, Michael Banks. Thanks, Michael. I haven't seen you for a while. Thank you. July Linus, Fun and Games, Pergolo. Ginger was in earlier. She kind of hides out. Ginger, where are you? Maria Amador, Chipateri, Jill Forret, Jesse Machuca, Ellen Michael. Who else? Who else wants a shout out? Oh, thank you, Spooky. Thanks, honey. Janet, all you have to do is sign up and you'll get an email. Go to Paranormal Zone TV, ParanormalZone.tv, and go to the email list and get on the email list. Hi Penny, honey. Did you guys get my reminders? Alexandria Violet, Debbie Gale, Mary Dallas. There you are, Ginger. Putty Tat, Putty Tat, meow. Choctaw Girl. Oh, Richard. Hi, Richard. Did you guys get my email? I sent out the reminders last night. Did you get them? Karen Atwood. Janet McWilliams. Okay, guys, tell me, did you get my email? Shout out me again. Okay, Quake Plays. Shout out me again and shout. Quake Plays. Para Princess Patricia. Oh, yes, don't forget. Next week, Spooky Raven, Anything But Ordinary. Great show. I'll post. She didn't have a show this week, but Kelly Lapseritis. Oh, hey Kelly, thank you. I enjoyed having you as a guest, Kelly. Lily. Oh God, I was gonna say something. Spooky Raven. Yes, Spooky Raven. She didn't have a show this Tuesday, but she will next week, and I always post for her on Facebook and I post on Google Plus. So watch for her show. Her show is on Tuesdays. Bee Singer. Anyway, Penny Dias, hi sweetheart. Yeah, I'm fascinated with Bigfoot, and I can't get enough of it. It just amazes me. Lily, yes, Lily, hi Lily Villalobos. So Quake Plays, if I shout out, you're going to subscribe. Okay, Quake Plays. Oh no, it won't let you, Kelly. You know what? I'll post it on my website, okay? All right. So, yes, I'll see you, Spooky. It was just this week was just, I'm glad you didn't have a show on Tuesday because I was not up to it. Elaine Michael, Penny, howdy Penny. Jason Adams. Oh, okay, Jason, I hope you enjoyed the show. Every week I have a different show. I have a different guest and a different topic. If you all would please subscribe to my channel and give the show a like, I'd appreciate it. Guys, I almost have 1 million views. I know you can't see it because my count is hidden. They're always 33,000 behind, but I'm only 5,000 away from 1 million views. And I'm so excited. As soon as I get it, I'm going to announce it. I'm really excited about that. Thank you, Quake. Oh, gosh. Well, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Again, Kelly Lapseritis, thank you. I enjoyed having you on the show. I love and respect all my guests. And I hope you like all my guests because I try to bring something new to you each week. And put out information, whether you believe it or not. I'm going to put it out there. It's every individual has that. You can believe it or not. It's up to you. But that's what I do. I try to bring it out. Oh, David Coffin, hi. I think I like having all these different guests and different subjects because I learn as well. And what better way to do it than through my show? So also, if you have any guests that or any topics, don't forget to send me a message. I'm on Facebook. You can find me on Facebook. Just let me know. Oh no. Which bishop? Are you talking about Bishop Long or Archbishop File? You know what? I haven't been able to find anybody to do a show on fairies. I did one years ago with Donna Raymond, and that was a long time ago. And I haven't been able to find somebody. You know what? Bishop. Okay, so what do you want me to talk about with Bishop File? What subject? We did exorcisms. We did the dangers of paranormal and stuff. So what would you want to know? No, James Long won't come back. I've tried. He's into something other than the talk shows. I don't know who that is. Alexandra Violet? What would their topic be? Pam Osley, Judka. I've never heard of them before. Send me a message. Oh God, quantum physics, that's above my head. I didn't, Marie. I looked that up and I sent you a message back about that. Oh, it's a legend. Oh, I love legends. Maria, send. I think you sent that to me on Facebook, but send it to me again, okay? I love legends. I love them. Demonology. No. You know something, guys. I bought a tablet and Anthony loaded some of his apps on it. I still don't know how to use it. A spiritual encyclopedia. Can you just send that to me? I do. I love urban legends. I love them. But I did a couple urban legends with Ray Johnson. We did a couple of urban legends one night. I know but quantum physics is above my head. I really don't understand it. I'd have to keep my mouth shut, which some people would like me to do, and let that person talk. No, those apps that Huff uses is Anthony's apps. Steve Huff uses Anthony's apps. Yeah, I love Ray Johnson. I've had Ken Gerhardt on the show before, and I've had Linda Godfrey. Look in my archives. Ken, I did with Live Sci-Fi, and I will try and get him back. But Linda Godfrey, I did a show. It was Flying Monsters. That was a good show. Yeah, I will bring Linda back. How about next year I bring Linda Godfrey back? We were going to do a series, and I didn't complete the series. We were going to do monsters, air, sea, and land. So I have 2 more shows to do with her. Monsters in the sea and monsters on land. But the one I did with her is monsters in the air. So that's on my front page. Putty tat, meow, meow. Yeah, that I wish I had that show, Chipper. That show I did with Gerhardt that really was a good show. Maybe I can get him back. He does his own talk show now, so I don't know if he'd want to come on mine. When somebody does a talk show, you really don't want to do other people's show, but I'll see if I can get him back. I'm trying to get David Weatherly back too. I've done several shows with David Weatherly, and he's written a new book about something about the strange among us, and I'm gonna try and get Weatherly back too. Hi, Pumpkinhead. Oh yeah, meow meow. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say that. TW. Sorry, F Warrior. You're right. Oh, God. Okay. Well, yes, David Weatherly. Didn't I have that Eric Vaughn guy? I had him on the show. Yeah, Spooky. I absolutely love unsolved crimes. And I will unsolved crimes. I'll find some of those too. I know. Do you guys remember my very first show? Yeah, I did Creepy Black-Eyed Children. It's on my front page. I did that with David Weatherly and Donna, my friend Donna. She was my co-host at the time. I did a show with Mark G. Hewitt. That was my very first show after leaving LSF, after leaving TW. And it was on serial killers. I'm really proud of that show. And he wants to come back. You know, he's the expert on the Zodiac. And, excuse me, and he wants to come back and do a show with me. It's a 3-part series on the Zodiac. The how, why, and when. He wanted to do a 3-part. And then he also wanted to do a show again with me on Charles Manson. He wrote a book on Charles Manson. So I'll schedule all that next year too. I got a bunch of shows I'm going to line up for next year. Oh, did you see that first show when I left TW? Oh gosh, well I better go or I won't be able to edit my show because I got to edit this part off. I can't keep it. He or she, a mini reading? Nobody I have does mini readings, honey. Oh yeah, Mark Hewitt is, oh my God, I did a fabulous show with him on the Zodiac, but that also, TW has that. Dumb me. Yeah. All right, everybody, I'm going to say goodnight, okay? I'm going to say goodnight, and I love all you guys, and I want to thank you so much for coming, for joining my show week after week, and I'll try and continue with the shows with different topics, different subjects. I'm sorry I didn't have a show last week. It was, I don't want to go into it, but it was absolutely insane, and I could not do a show. I just couldn't do a show last Thursday. But I had one today, and I'm sorry I didn't get the word out. I did put it on Google Plus, but I should have sent you all a message. And anyway, don't forget, if you want to sign up for reminders of the show, and you guys didn't tell me if you got my reminder, just go to ParanormalZone.tv and go to the email list, and you can sign up for reminders, okay? Okay. Everybody, I'm going to say goodnight, and thank you so much. I love you. Thanks, Spooky. I'll see you on Tuesday. And love you guys. Have a great weekend. And I will see you next Thursday, okay? Love you guys. Be safe and have a great weekend. Love you guys. Thank you so much. And remember to pray for the Constantinos. Thank you.